Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our second instalment of the RSF1 podcast. As it was so good, and well, that's bigging myself up. That's being too smug about it. Jesus. Let me reword that. As it was very successful, that's not made any better. Anyway, I'm losing it. Welcome back to our weekly podcast, and this, if you missed the first one, is our little recap of races and all the news and the gossip, if there is any, on the RSF1 Racing League. People like this sort of thing. They want to listen to it or have it in the background or something. But a lot of people want their name mentioned. And again, we'll try and do it. If there are particular people watching the stream, we'll try and give them a little bit of a mention. But obviously this is a general kind of show, so don't again be upset if we don't mention you. So it's obviously highlights of what we saw from the streams and obviously on the recaps. Anyway, I'm RSF1 Brundle, also known as Michael, and I am joined today by RSF1 Hippo. Good evening to you.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Yeah, it was an exciting week, actually. I got to do commentary twice, F3 and F5. Both had issues, restarts, so that was fun. Sunday was horrific. But yeah, I'm obviously trying to forget my own race on Sunday, but hey ho, it is what it is. I think it was a good week. It was good racing. Kind of expected it from Bahrain, didn't we? Bahrain is a good lead track, and it didn't disappoint.
No, it was a very high stakes, lots of things going on. Strategies, there's lots of
It was definitely a good week. But obviously we are here to recap all of it, and hopefully you will enjoy this little show. Again, nothing much in the background. It is just filtering through. I'm still trying to think of little things we can do at the background, but at the end we might have something different to show you if we have time at the end of it. So let's get things underway. And the very first thing I must point out first is, I believe he was in this car the last time he raced here, is the unfortunate and sad news that we, for those who don't know, a former racer of ours, Shrimper, has got cancer. Obviously, I actually knew someone that had a little bit of a cancer scare. Fortunately, from my point of view, they didn't have it, but Shrimper does, and obviously we are very, very sad to hear of this news, but we are all behind him. I'm sure you'll agree, Hippo. It's we know what it is. It's a tough thing to go through, but we're all behind you, Shrimper. If you're here and you listen to this or watch this at any point, yeah, hashtag #WeRacers1. That's perfect on that Ferrari. WeRacers1. So literally ask any of us if you want any support, anybody to talk to. We're here. So yeah, hopefully you'll be all right and everything else. So, and I believe he's coming back racing at some point. So yeah, be good to see you on the grid as well.
Yeah, I wish the best. Anyone.
Yeah, of course. We don't want it to happen to anyone in our community, and as we are a very good community. So yeah, all the best to you. Right, I need to bring in my person I'm going to interview this week, and here we go. Hopefully he will join on cue. And yeah, we're going to do the interview now. Obviously, again, hopefully this guy will join, and then we'll get on with the recaps. There we go. Perfect. Include your audio, please, and we'll give you a little introduction. So this guy, obviously, I tend to try to go team by team. I went Red Bull next because technically they're the second best car in this game, Ferrari. So Red Bull driver. So I've known this guy for feels like many years. It's only a few years. But we know each other for one particular incident, which happened in Belgium, who he still reminds me that I lightly tapped the back of him 2 seasons ago. But anyway, Red Bull this season, not in the same division as me, just one lower, but I am always cheering him on in the races, and I'm pretty sure he will do a good job. Who am I talking about? It is, of course, RSF1 Science. So, good evening to you, Science.
Good evening.
Practicing at Vietnam already, I see.
I was, yes.
Preparing yourself already.
Yep, that's what I like to do.
Fair enough. Obviously, I tend not to try and give any spoilers away about what happened in your race in F3, but relatively happy with how it went this week in Bahrain?
Yeah, it's better than I thought, to be honest. Like you say, don't give too much away yet, but yeah, I was happy.
Yeah, definitely very happy. Red Bull this season. Last season you were in a Mercedes, obviously in that championship battle that most of us remember with your teammate JS Lee. Obviously you had Toto and they were just down in there. Of course, last season you actually did very well in Vietnam last season, if I remember rightly. So you must be looking forward to this week.
I mean, I did win last season, but I think it was more a case of avoiding the walls and things like that rather than outright pace. But that's why I'm doing a little bit practice now, just to try and get in the swing of it and have the pace to be near the front without relying on mistakes and things like that.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't know whether you saw the start of the stream, but we had the sad news of Shrimper. What he's found out end of last week. I believe you knew Shrimper as, well, not personally, but knew him as a racer.
Yeah, I know Shrimper. Yeah, he's been in leagues that I've been in before, and I sent him a message on Twitter the other day with his sad news, and I just hope that he pulls through and his family and him can be happy.
Here. You've been around many leagues. As I said, I've raced with you. You've so on and so forth. In terms of, we're not trying to big up RSF1. Of course, every league has its flaws, and we have our flaws as well. But in terms of RSF1 as a league, the one thing I always think, and I hope you agree with me, is the community. The community is very strong. Like, whenever someone wins a first race, gets their first podium, scores points, does well, or anything in, like, for example, in Shrimper, whenever something like that happens, everybody bands together.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's nice to have the support as well, like you say, after your wins and whatever. And when someone's going through a bad time, then they know that someone's there for them, and anytime they want a message, then they know where to go, sort of thing.
Rebel, as I said, this season, how are you finding it? Obviously, another top team technically, because you were in a top team last season. Obviously not Mercedes powertrain, so I guess you got to get used to that a little bit. With the whole equal car thing. How are you finding the Red Bull so far?
To be honest, like the first time I was in it, I didn't really like it, but I warmed to it. Probably go as far as saying I prefer it to the Mercedes. Seems better, and I don't know, more planted on the rear to me than the Mercedes was. But yeah, and I prefer the Honda engine as well. So yeah, I'm liking it, to be honest. I wasn't thrilled with it because I've had it before, but yeah, it's better this game than it has been before for me. So yeah, it's going all right.
Bit of a sticky time for Red Bull at the moment in terms of overall constructors. We've had shall we say, unfortunate start first 2 weeks.
Yeah,
but there's still plenty of races to go, isn't there? So we're not worried at all, are we?
No, I mean,
are we?
No, it's just unfortunate, some things that have happened in the races from when I've been watching them. I think things will turn around and start moving up that table soon, I believe.
Yeah. You're partnered with Eyes the Best in F3 this season. You know Eyes the Best from before as well, so that obviously helps. How are you finding working with him this season at the moment? Obviously, early days, things can change, obviously. So, how's the relationship at the moment?
I hate it. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, it's been good. Obviously, I've got on with Eyes for quite a while now anyway, and when he was my teammate, I was very happy. We're just working really well together, sharing setups, things like that, practicing, and it's been really good, to be honest. Can't complain at all. So, yeah.
Hippo, any questions you'd like to ask Sights here?
No, nothing from me.
Okay. Obviously, last question. You've had a pretty decent start, I must say, from F3. What is your aims for this season? Obviously, hoping to be at the top, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be no lie if I said I didn't want to win the title. That's what everybody wants. It'd be difficult, but I think I can do it. So hopefully everything comes together. But Dan is very fast, so it'll be tricky, but you never know.
Yeah, you seem to be dueling in qualifying with VRC Dan lately. The first two races.
He's pushing me in qualifying, I'll tell you that. It's incredible.
But it's good to have that. It's good to have that, though, isn't it? Someone pushing you to, because it makes you go faster.
It makes me want to practice more.
Yes.
Yeah. So
a rival.
Yeah, definitely a rival. Respectful rivalry, but yeah, it's a rivalry.
Well, I think that's all we need from you, Mr. Sight. So, yeah, so I'll let you get back to your practice once again.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining me, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you, you too, and I wish you Poe the best as well.
All right.
Adios.
Right, thanks again.
No worries.
There we are, RSF1 Science with good interview there. On obviously next week we will move back to Ferrari. Of course, I skipped over Ferrari, not purposely. Just Red Bull popped in my head with the second car. But yep, Ferrari next. So I intend to do Ferrari next. So if any Ferrari driver out there that wants to be a part of the interview section next week, please direct me a message, or I will anyway next week coming to it. So yeah, that was good stuff from Sights, wasn't it, Hippo?
Yeah, sounds like he's enjoying his competition. Sure, it's nice of a battle.
Yeah. Would you agree with me in saying that but when all is said and done in F3, we predict him to be near the top?
Well, he's shown.
I know it's early days, though.
He's shown he can do it, but the consistency is always the question in any long-term season. There's lots of races, win, lots of drop as well. Be interesting.
Yeah. Alright, so let's crack on then, shall we, with our race recaps. And I think you agree with me in saying, Hippo, I think every race had its intrigue, had its moments, didn't it? It was, as I said at the start of the show, Bahrain, as we expected, was very good racing. I know you watch most of the races. Which race kind of stands out for you this week, if you had to pick one?
I missed a couple this week, but the end of the week was some very interesting races. So I would have to go with one of the last two, I think.
So that'll be F1 or F4?
Yeah, I think they both had very close battles, very near the end. It just seemed to last. The action didn't stop at any point.
Yeah, very good stuff. Right, so let's get us underway. Let's start off with F2 on Sunday, and Hippo analysed this for me, so take it away please, Hippo.
Yeah, so Sunday always the start of the week for RSF1. First race, first qualifying. It's always F2, so they're exploring different strategies, different thought setups early on in the weekend. So, but it was very interesting qualifying with reigning champion and leader at the minute, RSF1 East, not getting through to Q3. And then the top 10 that did get through were Grunty, FFR Milan, Jace Lee, Lukey, Bill Sparks, JJ Hudson, Magic Mark, EF1 Racer, Josh S04, and Breezy got pole with a 1 minute 25.1. It showed to be a pretty quick. Well, what everyone was expecting. I don't think anyone was expecting it to be that quick.
Definitely surprised me.
Yeah.
Because I remember, I think last season's F2, I did a 25.7 and was third. And I think pole was a 25.5. So yeah, very, very quick. Shows that the pace in general, the league, and really in F2, I think has gone up a little bit. But it shows it's very competitive.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens. So you always feel like you're quick, then it comes to qualifying and someone else is just shows their true pace, and normally it can throw you off guard. The race started. There's action early on. At the end of lap 1, Ripple one shot, I think, the last corner. I think they went straight on. I'm not entirely sure what happened. But a safety car was caused.
Yeah, looked a little either. Okay, it's one of either three things, and this happened in qualifying as well, if I remember rightly. Either his brake pedal didn't work, he got hit by someone, or you know what I'm going to say, but I don't think it's the third one. I think there was a genuine mistake in this race, but yeah, it was unfortunate for Rippon.
Yeah, and that caused a safety car. So that was a very interesting start. The only one that could pit that lap was Lil Spark. Oh no, not Lil Spark. Sparks came into the pit. Got in, no one else did. Everyone else had to do a lap before that. And then came out, and there was quite a few of the soft runners had pit. But there was still, I believe, 3 or 4 near the front on the softs before you got to, I think 8th was the first hard runner. I think that was RSF1 Eastern. And then...
Eastern?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm talking
Eastern's
about the wrong
not
race.
F1. I'm in F2.
Yes.
F2.
Yeah, F2, sorry. Yeah, but early on, a couple of people stayed out. I think 4 or 5 cars stayed out on their softs. And then you had a couple of hard runners and mediums, but then lap 5 you seem to have a very unfortunate event where you spun from 2nd to 14th.
You got that.
But it seemed unlucky.
You'll love this. Exact same place, exact same lap as last season.
Oh, that's a
Dark
shame.
car, obviously. Yeah, I was 2nd on mediums, and I had 2 mistakes that race. I don't know whether you'll mention the other one, but
Maybe.
the first was the squat slide, turn 6, and that was it. Spinala.
Yeah, it looks like you were fighting
Fortunately-
with some of the top drivers as well.
Yeah, I had obviously Lukey ahead of me, who was on the softs, who hadn't pitted.
And then Muddy
I hadn't
behind.
pitted and moved up to 2nd. You got Muddy behind you as well. To say I'm disappointed because at the end of the race, obviously, those that were around me ended up near the front by the end.
Yeah,
So if I hadn't made the mistakes, obviously I would have been near them at least.
yeah, could have been a very different outcome.
It's what it is. But I was able to carry on.
Yeah, and then we're moving on a little bit to lap 8, where Stygian had one of his battles. He had quite a few battles in this race. But he...
Can I do a quick plug?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
RSF1 Stygian has a YouTube channel where he does highlights of his races. He does very, very well in his editing and everything else. Highlights of his race are on the F2. On his YouTube channel. So basically, you go to that and you can watch it.
It's a different view of the race as well. But him and Evo were too wide going through almost the S's after turn 4, and I think neither of them backed off in time. Stygian was slightly ahead, and Evo's come, or they've made contact. I'm not sure how it's happened, but Evo spun, which was very a shame, and lost quite a few positions from. I think they were around the bottom half of the top 10, but they were in there, so that's a shame for Evo. Lap after, Lukey pits from the lead, and Muddy inherits it, so the person you were ahead of for your unlucky incident.
Muddy Biscuit, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So Lukey's now on hard, so he's trying to take them 20 laps, but then lap 10, something may have happened at turn 13, involving a Red Bull.
That'd be me again, wouldn't it?
Maybe you,
yeah. Well, so you know turn 11,
yeah,
12,
not
13,
nice.
whatever it is. Do not touch the curb on the inside. So J.S. Lee had a moment in front of me in the corner before.
You tried to make
I obviously... I didn't intend to make a move. Obviously, I avoided him without losing time. And obviously that put me offline for the corner. I was on the inside when I normally try and, open up the corner, try and go on the outside and sort of go round, so avoid the curb. Obviously, because I had to avoid Lee, I had to turn on the inside.
And then there's not much you can do.
Spin. Again, no damage though, so it was fine, but it cost me time.
Yeah, that corner is not very nice at all. I don't think I hit the apex in that once in my race. I made sure I always turned in late, just to make sure I didn't hit the apex and just go spinning off.
Oh yeah, BF1 Race in the chat. Yeah, I know it as Bossman Curve. We used to have a driver called Bossman.
I'm guessing.
In the league, and he's... In one race, I think he spun there 4 times.
Ooh, okay.
Twice in qualifying.
I did that in a single stint on softs in my practice, so I'm not going to talk about that too much, but yeah. Stygian had an eventful race, as we've said, on lap 12. He's ended up in a 3 wide down quite a wide straight. I'm not sure how this has occurred, but they've all seemed to come very narrow to the outside line. I don't think they realised they were 3 wide. As the driver in the middle, I think, or whoever's on the inside, I don't think they've seen that it's 3. So as they move across, there's contact. Stygian, Cookie and Breezy are involved in this. And Breezy loses time of positions, and I think he hits the wall very hard. Stygian doesn't manage to avoid loads of damage by the looks of it, and then Cookie got off fairly nicely as he managed to back out just in time to avoid the cars. But it's one of the incidents that has happened in F2 that made it a good spectacle, I think. The fact that there was close racing like that. Things would happen, but obviously it wasn't intentional. It's just really close racing, and that caused a couple of incidents. But then the next lap, Stygian and Cookie were together again on the start-finish straight again. And I don't know what's happened here either, but on the stream they're both nearby each other, and then the pans to a different camera, and they've both gone into opposite walls. There's obviously been some sort of contact between the two of them. It looked very eventful in that battle between them.
I believe on his video he's got like a perfect angle of it. But so again, if you want to have a look at it, it's on his review. But yeah, they seem to had a connection in that race.
And it wasn't getting away. They kept together. But at the same time, Moddy, Stidgen's teammate, had pitted on the same lap. So that was, I think he was now onto the hards. I believe he started on the mediums. And then that meant he was on a lot fresher tyres to Lukey, who was ahead. But he was on his softs, he had to pit earlier. So Muddy had a couple of laps in clean air. And then Saiju, who was racing with Muddy a lot, also pit. They were very close together throughout the race.
Quickly on Saiju, I think she had an unfortunate race in Australia. It didn't show her potential, but Bahrain was definitely a lot better.
Yeah.
Could be a dark horse for the season.
Yeah, she has shown pace, especially in some of the social races. She was up there. I think some of the time she was fighting with Easton in one of the social races, holding him up around Australia. Almost. But she has got pace. She just hasn't had her best chance to prove it yet, I don't think.
Well, she used to be in F1, so I think she's getting used to the competitiveness of F2.
Yeah, it's a different
Could be
thing
that.
around it. It's a different spirit. And then we move on to eight laps later, to lap 21, where you're in a battle with 3 other cars with P10 at this point, and I believe you come off worse again.
Yeah, this is hanging on to 10th place for all my life.
It goes to lap 24, where I'm not too sure what's occurred. You might be able to inform us a bit better, but lap 24, turns 1, 2. There's some sort of contact between you and someone, and you just seem to almost move over and just slow down, let people pass to rejoin almost.
No, I think I was in a side-by-side with somebody, and yeah, just on the exit, just got a little bit hit, and that's why I slowed down.
Yeah, just to control yourself, I suppose. Avoid damage.
Nothing more, basically, into that. I'm not going to go any more into that.
Yeah. And then lap 26. We're going a couple of laps later, but Muddy gets past Lukey, and at that point, it seems like he has the win. However, there are still 2 Alfa Romeos ahead of him. BF1 Racer and JS Lee, both on 22 lap old hards, because they were hit very early under the safety car, and both tried to stick it out to the end by the looks of it, but then surprised that BF1 Racer did this, but on lap 27 he pit. Maybe didn't like the tyres condition, thought they couldn't take them to the end, so just went for fresh tyres, fresh rubber, and hope he could push back through the field. And also at this time, other Alfa Romeo JS Lee, who doesn't pit, has a little spin, and Muddy inherits P1 off of that. And both Alfa Romeos get very close again at the end of the race in terms of position. But then on the last lap, Breezy's crashed out. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. But then
What turn was it?
I
Do you
didn't
remember?
take that down though.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
I vaguely remember it. I can't
think
think,
it was,
what turn it was.
Turn 11, 12 around there.
Oh yeah.
I'm guessing he's hit the inside barrier and
Yeah.
got severe damage. But then the race ended in the top 10 were Magic Mark, Dangerous Dan, BF1 Racer and JS Lee, Lil Sparks, Sync Saiju, Josh S04, Lukey, Milan, and Muddy took the win from P13. So that was a good race for him.
Yes, this is why I put Money Biscuit as one of the front runners
Yeah.
towards the end of the season, because he just keeps out of trouble and he has no penalties. I got no penalties that race.
That is true. That
I
did
can
occur. Lots
be
of
happy
people
with
got their
that.
penalties around Bahrain, to be fair.
I even gained a position on someone who did.
The opposite
know,
almost
it's great.
happened to me.
Yeah. But no, Muddy. That sums him up perfectly. I mean, obviously there was a safety car in there, which there were quite a few this week, which changed the complexion of the races.
Not in one division. But yeah, he's very consistent and smooth. He seems just to always be in and around that podium. Although he's got back-to-back wins, so he's looking very good this season.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, shaping up good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. Because Hanой's obviously one that splits opinion. Although we've heard in interviews, some people say they love it. Some people have said they hate it. Most people have said they hate it.
My early prediction for Vietnam is it's going to be one of those that pace isn't going to matter.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be races where I could be horribly wrong, but I think the usual suspects
Survive.
might not be at the front.
Battle of attrition.
It's like Singapore. If you throw Singapore in full wet.
I liked that, I'll be honest, because the only setup
Monaco
I've ever
full
had are full wet setups. Because I'm too scared to lower the ring.
It goes from being pace mattering to survivability.
Yeah,
Staying out of trouble. Strategy perfect.
but that's one of the things that's going to affect the season. How people can deal with different conditions. So, as the season develops, we'll find out more about who's in what position with changing conditions.
Mm. Thank you for F2 there, Hippo.
No problem.
Alright, going into F3. So, and this is where I get there's a little bit of an echo from you, Hippo.
I'll see if I can.
You could.
Is that
Alright, is that better? It's slightly better.
okay?
It's tolerable. Alright, so on to F3 we go. So obviously on the Monday, and this is where I commentated with Vettel SF1. Did you watch this race, April, on Monday?
I did not see this race. No, I missed a couple this week.
Oh,
Unlike me.
you missed it. You missed a tasty one.
Oh,
You missed a tasty one. So qualifying first, top 10 included VRC, Dan, and Sainz. Beast Pro was having his first. No, it was his second race. It's Australia.
Yeah.
We don't mention Australia. Eagle, Peach Pig, Maniac, Quaker Oats, Millsy, Camo, and Monster Skyline. Interestingly, both Alphas were the only team to get both cars into the top 10 there, Hippo.
Oh.
Millsy and Monster. Everyone else were by themselves. So,
looking good.
but similar to last week, Australia, where VRC Dan and Sainz had a duel for pole position, it was the same again. But Dan took it this time. I think he got it last time. Not by much though. So we had Dan on a 25.249, the pole. Sainz was a 125.272. So, a couple of hundreds. And behind him was a slight surprise of Beast Pro on a 125.319. So,
nice and tidy time around there.
yeah, very, very close qualifying and very entertaining. But once again, Dan in Ferrari started up on pole. And then it came to the start. I believe we had a restart as well. Which was unfortunate in this race. But once we got going, it was I wouldn't want to say quiet. It was a professional and clean start from F3. They were going 2 and 3 wides in the field, but there was nothing. There was no collisions. There was no damage. I don't think nobody pitted. So very well done from F3.
Almost annoying.
From the start.
Less to talk about.
No. It's one of those that from from the viewer maybe it's like, oh, this is boring, but from a league point of view, from the admins, it's like, oh, that's brilliant. From the start, Camo in his racing point was up 3 positions, Quirky up 4. Those were the big main movers. The 3 leaders were VRC Dan, Sainz, and Peachy Pig. Lap 3, Blazer Guns unfortunately spins at turn 4, loses his front wing, and I said on the stream, and I will continue this, Blazer Guns had horrible luck in last season, and it almost seems to have carried over. I hope it will ease off this bad luck, because he has the pace. It's just not coming together, and I know the feeling. So, but he's got to keep his head up, and I know he will. So there we go. VSC was called Virtual Safety Car. Nobody pitted under the VSC, so we carried on till lap 4, and Monster Skyline spun at the Bossman curve, as it's now called, at turn 11, and this brought out the safety car, and this was the key point, the safety car on lap 4, because multiple drivers went on different kind of strategies. So they kind of figured out from the F2 race the day before how long hards can almost go. Around 20 laps, but no one had tried to go beyond 20 laps, and at this point, if you pitted on lap 4, you'd have to go 25 laps if you tried it. The leaders did pit, Dan, Sainz, and Peachy Pig. Dan and Sainz went on the hards, Peachy Pig went on to the mediums, as did RSF1 Eagle. Beast Pro, interestingly, stayed out on his softs and took the lead. So the top 10 was Beast Pro on the softs, Eyes on the mediums, who had both stayed out. Stretch, Shane, Falcon, Benz, Quirky, and OG James all stayed out on the hards, because, well, they'd started on the hards, there was no point pitting, so... And then you had Dan, Sainz, and everyone else that was near them, which includes Peachy Pig, Maniac, all those. They had pitted. Some of them were going to the end, but they were in traffic, and that was the little bit of a problem they had. But safety car came in, and they got back underway once again. We go to lap 6, where Dan and Peachy Pig gets past OG James through turn 4. James was struggling with the hard tyres, couldn't get them up to temperature quick enough, and started to fall back into those that had pitted. And he fortunately got shuffled back a little bit. Lap number 8, Peachy Pig passes VRC Dan into turn 1. This he had to do because he was on the mediums and pitting again, compared to the other two. He didn't want to take the gamble. He started moving forward because on lap 9 he passes Quirky Turtle. But VRC Dan was sticking to his gearbox at this point. And then lap 12, this is interesting little bit here, between RSF1 Eagle, Millsy, and Quirky Turtle. So they're in a titanic battle going through turns 1, 2, and 4, 3 wide, 2 wide, and it was good to watch, but unfortunately it ends in a little bit of trouble because Millsy goes side by side with Quirky through turns 6 and 7. Millsy has a bit of a slide off of Quirky Turtle. Eagle slows down to avoid trouble, and unfortunately Camo, who had a front side seat of all this, couldn't slow down in time behind Eagle and got front wing damage, and that ruined his race. Turn 6 and 7 Hippo, obviously you know this corner, obviously I spun there, as you mentioned. Going side by side through there, and obviously there was another race where there were incidents at that point. It's one of those, isn't it? You can go through side by side, but you need 2 drivers that know to give space and are, what's the word?
Very kind and generous.
Yes. Yes, if you get 2 drivers there that are going to be just as stubborn as one another, you know what's going to happen. One of them is going to go sideways, if not both.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's one of those corners, though. It's a fast corner. If it can be done, but it's got to be very, very brave. Yeah, very unfortunate for Camo. He did the others did nothing wrong. They were just avoiding trouble, and he just got caught out, which was a shame. Lap 13, Peach Pig catches the hard tyre pack of Stretch, Shane, Falcon, and Cooper Benz. But Benz had kind of moved into third at this point. Where was I? Passes. So Peachy Pig passes Falcon into turn 1. And in the meantime, Eyes the Best pits on his double medium strategy. Lap 15, those that had pitted had caught the leaders. Cooper Benz at this point was making the hard tyre strategy work, and he was leading ahead of RSF1 Stretch and Shane. As I said, VRC Dan and Science and all those that had pitted were now making their way through the leaders. Lap 17, turn 8, Peachy Pig spins out of third place, unfortunately, and Damage and Pitted came out in 15th place. I don't know if you remember last week, Peachy Pig and Renault was in a good place there, Hippo, and fell back because of an incident. He's another one of those, has the pace, the results will come, won't they?
Yeah, you've just got to give it time. As long as you keep putting your car in those positions and keep pushing within their limits, then it will come. You just have to be patient and keep at it.
Yeah. And he has the raw pace, and if you have pace, results will just come, won't they?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for me. It's harder to find pace, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you have pace, you like 3/4 of the job done. It's just getting the results.
Yeah, if you have
So-
pace, you need to be able to do it lap after lap. If you have consistency, but if there's no pace there, then this doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Lap 19, Cooper Benz pits for the medium tyres and comes out in 11th place at this point. Dan takes the lead because obviously he had pitted, and at this point it was coming to the conclusion that VRC Dan, Science and Maniac were trying to go to the end on their hard tyres. So they were making that gamble. But they were now in the top 3 positions. So the question was, could those that had pitted either twice or later than them, or hadn't taken the gamble, catch them back up? Lap 21, Cooper Benz, who had pitted onto those medium tyres, as I said, was now passing Eyes the Best for 8th in turn 10. Did a very, very good job. Again, he was making the strategy work. Then moved into 6th as Shane and Stretch pitted. Shane and Stretch, interestingly, went onto the softs and were flying towards the end of that race. Beast Pro, meantime, who remember had stayed out on softs in the opening safety car, pitted for hard tyres, and he was in clean air, and I kind of pointed him out as somebody to watch, because as he was in clean air, everyone else was battling through traffic and different strategies. But unfortunately for him, he got stuck behind Titan Prime in one of the McLarens for several laps, and it seemed frustration got the better of him because he lost too much time to the 3 leaders, which I think he may have caught if he'd managed to pass Titan, but Titan defended very well for the McLaren team and managed to keep him behind. That meant that Cooper Benz at this point, who had moved into 4th, managed to catch Beast Pro and pass him into 4th place, and was now catching the top 3 of Maniac, Science and Dan. Then got to lap 27. RSF1 Maniac into Williams unfortunately had a puncher, which then put the top 2, Science and Dan, obviously on nerves, because obviously Maniac was on the same tyre life as the 2 ahead. But in the end, VRC Dan took the victory with reported tyres of 86% rear left, and apparently 79% front left as well. He was doing 1 minute 33s, 4 seconds a lap slower than the charging Cooper Benz behind him, but just managed to hold on by a couple of seconds. Cooper Benz managed to get past Science on the last lap, with Science's tyres at 91% apparently, but Science still came home in 3rd place.
Yeah.
So yeah, all about strategy, that race. Showed a lot of people what you could do on the hard tyres later on in the week. But was definitely a gamble though, wasn't it, Hippo? I'm pretty sure Dan and Sainz thought this has to be a risk, because especially the fact they were battling the mid part of that race. I didn't think they were going to make it, but they surprised me.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk taking tyres anywhere near that long.
25 laps, I think it was.
Yeah, I would probably struggle with 18, but obviously perfected that in their practice. They'd obviously done a lot of work on their time management if they needed to, because that's always something that can happen at Bahrain. Early safety cars do happen, so if you can do it, then why not?
Yeah. So in the end of the results, VRC Dan picks up back-to-back victories in the Ferrari, looking very good. Good strong start to the season. I personally don't think others would necessarily agree. I'm just as a neutral here. I think he's fine for F3. I think, if you take a look at that qualifying, as I said, there was a 10th separating the top 5, I think it was. So based on that purely, I think he's perfectly fine. He's just performing very well, and all credit to him. Cooper Benz from 16th on the grid, from Cooper Benz in second. As I said during that recap, just made the strategy work, stayed out on the hards, managed to pick his way through, and when he pitted, he just was clinical and fast at the same point.
Yeah.
And second is his reward. Sainz ended up in third place with a solid result for him. RSF1 Shane in the Renault, who pitted late for the soft tyres, was again methodical and good with his overtakes on the softs, managed to get up to 4th place from 13th. Ice the Best had a relatively quiet race, to be honest, and even my recap, I didn't really see him much, but he did a double kind of medium stop on his after the safety car, ended up in 5th place. RS7 Falcon in 6th in the Williams, once again, I think had the same strategy, if I'm wrong, than the leaders, but was a little bit further back, ended up in 6th place. Millsy in the Alfa Romeo ended up in 7th place. Beast Pro in 8th. What could have been, I guess, I think, with the strategy. He was there, but definitely still the best result or race I've kind of seen from him. He's in 8th place. Stretch in 9th in the Mercedes, and Peachy Pig did pick up the last point in the end. And Maniac, the unfortunate Maniac, who had a puncture 3 laps on the end, just outside the points.
It's a shame, but it's to take.
Yeah, I definitely recommend you watch it back at some point, Hippo, because it was definitely an entertaining one. Obviously, restart was frustrating, but yeah, good stuff from F3, and obviously I'm commentating on that now, so I'm very, very happy. Carry on the good show, F3.
Yeah, by the sounds of it, that strategy from Shane, I think, may have inspired some things later on in the week, by that late move on to the softs.
That's the thing with these races, isn't it? The later you're on in the week, the more clued in on the strategy. It's all good watching previous races and doing your practice with other people, but taking hards more than 20 laps, people before the race thought, it's almost impossible, but if you have good tyre wear, know how to keep them,
yeah,
then it's all good.
It's almost what could have been with the 2 Alfa Romeos in Div 2, but one pit and the other one spun on 23 lap old tyres, so obviously it must have been really hard.
Safety car was key in that race, and the timing that it came out, because it meant that in that race it was difficult to clue who was going to be at the front towards the end of it, because so many different strategies and all performed well. It was a good proper race from F3.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on to F5. Your tier. On the Tuesday. Now, obviously, normally Monster Skyline would review F5, but unfortunately he's unwell today, so Wish him all the best. He'll be back reviewing it next week, and next week is actually commentating. He's now our official streamer of F5 going forward this week. No plans change like daily at this point. But hey ho. But this week it was Blazer and myself doing this one, and this one was a fun race to watch.
I wouldn't know.
F5. I get to you, okay, I get to you. I've mentioned a few bits about you, don't worry. You mentioned me twice, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, F5 is obviously a very entertaining tier to watch. I think this was a race where every driver turned up, if I remember rightly.
I think one person didn't, so there was one reserving, but it was 20-man grid, yeah.
Yeah, cool, so... Oh yeah, we had a funny thing where a visual glitch where we had RSF1 streaming for Dan P45 and the Red Bull. Still don't know how.
I think Blazer was secretly controlling it.
Oh, it's FRT Invade was in for Shadow Moses, apparently, according to sources in the chat.
He's the one reserved.
Interesting. So, qualifying the top 10 in the qualifying session, the ones that made it through the Q3, Andy Yuskin in the Renault, Source in the Racing Point, double in the Mercedes, McCracken in the second Renault, Raikkonen in the Ferrari, Tedis in the Williams, Tacticals in the other Ferrari, Locker in the McLaren, Papa Smurf in the Haas, and your boy Prio in the Williams. And in the end, it was Andy Yuskin that took the pole, 125.575, just ahead of RSF1 Source, 125.730, and double in the Mercedes, 125.857. Can't remember where you qualified, Hippo. It was outside the top 10, wasn't it?
I nearly picked Andy into the top 10. I was 3,000
yes,
off him.
Andy just scraped through, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it was key as well, because obviously Andy took the pole, and if you were 3,000ths quicker...
Yeah, and he was on mediums, which is very nice for him.
Those on the mediums was Andy Yuskin, as you mentioned, and McCracken, his teammate, so both Renaults were very good to get through on the medium tyres, as was Double, and Raikkonen in the Ferrari. Then the race got underway. It was key for Source to take the lead as soon as possible on this soft tyres. He didn't get it through turn 1. In fact, through turn 1, both Ferraris unfortunately caught damage against each other, I believe, Raikkonen and Tacticals on the first lap. They both double stacked, so not a good time for the Maranello. Daniel P45 reserving... Sorry, string got cut off because my controller's got... and touched my controller for a while, that's why it turned itself off. Yeah, Daniel P45 filling in for RSF1 streaming, also pitted. But the star for me on the first lap was FRT Invade. Yeah. Interesting how he's a reserve as well. He crashed out on the first take of qualifying because we had to do a restart of qualifying, which was fun.
Very.
But very quick turnaround on my ad, so thank you for all that did that. So I didn't have to stall so much. But FRT Invade crashed out in the very first take of qualifying, so had to wait ages for him to race the car again. I was on board of him because obviously I was looking at the back on his TV pod, and the start he made is as if he had a jet engine behind his car.
Maybe
it was ridiculous.
Alonso's McLaren, but they did actually put a rocket in it, and then it wasn't that bad.
He was 14th by turn 1.
Yeah.
After starting 20th. Insane start. And he was actually up to 9th at the end of the first lap. I've never witnessed a start like that. And again, it's I never seen a start like that when nothing major has happened. As I said, the two Ferraris had damage, and obviously that's 2 positions, and I think Daniel as well. But apart from that, there was no big spin collision mass carbon fiber thing to allow Invade to go up those positions. So that was all pure overtakes.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff from him. Source, who I said was on the soft tyres, trying to get the lead from Andy Yuskin at the end of the first lap, wasn't able to begin with. Then you had McCracken, Tedis, Double, and Locker following in behind. Lap 4, RSF1 Source gets a loose car at the end of turn 4, comes back onto trying to regather, and McCracken unfortunately clips in through turns 6 and 7. That again, that corner we're talking about that we had in F3, a little instant there, and unfortunately Source dropped down to 7th place, which kind of messed up the strategy there. Was obviously on the soft tyres. Again, from the way I see it, it looks like a racing incident to me. Obviously the stewards will obviously look into that. Obviously Source commenting yet. Obviously we aren't the stewards, so we lead the stewards to do that, but really unfortunate with that. And again, it goes back to that corner hippo. It's difficult to get two cars side by side through there.
Yeah, have you seen what Source has put in the chat?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, we carry on to lap number 7, and a very, very unfortunate, unlucky incident for Timmer. Your boy Prio in the Williams spun at that same corner, turn 6 and 7 on the exit. The stream didn't catch it, but I saw on the dots he just had like a almost 360 spin back onto the track, and unfortunately Timmer in the AlphaTauri hits him and retires on the spot. Lucky in a way that not more people got caught up in this, but so nothing Timmer could do, nothing your boy Prio could do. It's just one of those things, wrong place, wrong time, and that was a shame for the AlphaTauri driver. Lap number 10. At this point, the Renaults of Yuzgin and McCracken were kind of controlling the race ahead of the two Mercedes, because again, Invade was up to 4th at this point, having an absolute mad one with double. And then behind them was yourself, Hippo. Kind of keeping yourself to yourself, if I remember recapping this race here, unless you say anything different.
Yeah, I messed up in my strategy. Or not my strategy, my setup. The right set, my race setup. For some reason I didn't do it properly. So then I was just hoping I'd clean air to make the most of what I had. And thankfully I didn't get involved in too much.
Sometimes the best results come from just you being by yourself. You know, it can be a boring race, but if it gets results, yeah, you'll get other races where you will be overtaking more people than you want to. So, yeah, behind Lincoln, behind Hippo was Lincoln, Force Manure, and Tedis at this point. Lap 13, McCracken and the Mercs on the hards had pitted at this point, and they were catching those that were not pitted. And then same thing again through turn 6 and 7. McCracken involved once again, clips RSF1 double in the Mercedes, and double drops back to P10. Again, McCracken seemed to have a magnet with those going through turn 6 and 7. Yeah, nothing malicious with that, and obviously the race carried on. Lap 15, McCracken. I pointed this out because McCracken passed Blocker in one of the cleanest overtakes I think I've ever seen. Clean as a whistle, straight round the outside, no contact, no rubber tyres, no nothing. Great respect between the two, and a great overtake through turn 4. Nothing else really much went on at this point. Not to say it was a boring race, it just was, again, a good professional job from F5. Not many incidents. I think it was only 2 retirements. As I said, Timmer, and I think somebody retired in the pits kind of late on when they were far back. But apart from that, it's all pretty good. The next point I'd point out is lap 24. Source was kind of recovering at this point, as he said in the chat just now. A mad comeback. He'd pitted onto the soft tyres, and pretty much similar to Shane in F3, was recovering some points on those that were struggling on their tyres, and was getting that further. At this point, the Renaults was still controlling the race, and it looked almost destined for a Renault 1-2 and Shane to be, obviously the team principal of Renault, to be overjoyed. Yuskin ahead of McCracken. Invade was holding down a very respectable third place, considering where he started. Hippo, you were in 4th place at this point. Again, just going back your business. Didn't really see any trouble to you, to be honest.
Yeah. Not really.
Apart from a penalty late on, which didn't help.
Yeah, I got 2 warnings through one section of track early on, going inside and out. I extended and cut, so it wasn't great, but I just carried on.
Yeah. Behind Hippo was a recovering double. And then Lincoln, who was having a good strong dive in the Racing Point Source, was behind his teammate and eventually made the move. Although Lincoln, I might add, didn't make it that easy, but Source still had to work it. Tedderson and Williams was next with Locker and Manure. And that's pretty much how they almost finished, apart from Source passing you on the last lap.
Yeah.
So I'd rub it in.
Yeah, I was going to let him by. I had penalties anyway, so I just thought, yeah.
It's tyres as well, wasn't it? Obviously, he was on softs and you were hards at that point?
I was on mediums. I did hards first.
Oh, you're mediums.
I don't think it was the right call, but I did it. I think mediums should have been better.
Yeah.
But oh well, hindsight.
But yeah, good recovery drive from Source on the soft tyres towards the end of the race, and fastest lap to boot as well. But it was a Renault 1-2 and the Yuzkin ahead of McCracken. A good drive from the 2 drivers there. Yeah, nothing much. As soon as they took the lead, they controlled it from there on in. They finished ahead of FRT Invade from 20th place on the grid to P3. Tell you what, if every reserve is like that, it would get more in. Jeez, if he is a reserve, I didn't realise he was.
Yeah.
Great job for Mercedes.
He's a reserve, but he's raced in both races so far this season.
Yeah, great job for Mercedes. Was absolutely on it. 4th place for Source. Same as Australia, I feel. Hippo for Source. They're very similar to Peach Big in F3. The pace is there. It seems results will come.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's quite the same as Australia. He still finished the race with good points. He'll still be pretty pleased with his birthday performance, but would have wanted
birthday
better
that day as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You finished behind in 5th from 11th. Not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
And you actually in a Racing Point sandwich, because Lincoln ended up in 6th place, and a good drive from him from 14th on the grid. RSF1 double, again, what could have been really, because he was up there with the leaders. Of course, he got caught up in that incident with McCracken, turned 6, ended up in 7th. Tedist on the 2-stop ended up in 8th in the Williams. Raikkonen actually recovered from his inter-team connection, shall we say, at turn 1. Pitting very early on, ended up doing a late kind of 2-stop on the softs, recovered for 9th place, 2 points. And then Force Manure picked up the last point in AlphaTauri, actually from 18th, which is not a bad drive at all either. Ended up at 10th place in a point. So far so good, Hippo, I guess, in terms of yourself.
Yeah, it's been an alright season. Enjoyed it, but could have done better. Want to do better, but more practice, more races, still more to go.
Yeah, still a long way to go, but good start. And that's all you need. Right. So back over to you now for the F1 race.
Yeah. Easton, I just saw your message in chat. I'm not that good on the tyres. I couldn't have done a hard soft.
No.
No.
No. You would have to take hards to about lap 19-20.
Yeah.
So.
And talking about RSF1 Easton, we go to F1, in which he qualified outside the top 10 for the second race, but as a reigning champion, you expect him to be the top. Started outside the top 10. Didn't go terribly for him from there.
I remember last season there were odd occasions. Odd because he ended up champion, as you say, but there were rare occasions where he was outside the top 10. But 11th is still okay. That's where I started. I didn't make the most of it, but 11th is...
That's where I started as well.
Yeah, you'd rather be 11th than say 9th or 10th, basically.
Yeah. If you're not quick on
Yes.
those softs, you want to be outside the top 10 where you have that strategy choice.
Mhm.
But yeah. But then the top 10 were Natdog, RSF1 Mansell, Kid Cudi, Pigeon Munch, Lando, Vettel SF, then the other Vettel, his teammate, which is very annoying in comms because they're the same car as well. Then you got Unity Harsh, Corey Marshall. Midsi set the fastest lap of a 1:24.4. However, he had a 5-place grid penalty for taking out Natdog. I believe it was on his out lap. He's just lost the car, but he did have a 5-place grid penalty, so he did start in P6, which is unfortunate for him. Early in the race, we had a safety car after one of the Renaults, or the Renault T, crashed out around the exit of turn 4, just before turn 5. We didn't catch it on the stream, unfortunately, but it was very sudden. Although that did shuffle up the field a bit. And after everyone had pitted through the safety car, Easton was up to P5 on his hearts, so he was looking very good, to be fair to him. I believe Lando had pit at this point, one of his former teammate, who I think has spoken that he would have tried a different strategy in hindsight, but he did it. And this meant Easton was up into P5 with Aldaf behind him and his teammate still ahead. And then a couple of laps later in lap 9, Easton gets to move on Vettel up the road. I believe this was... I can't remember what Vettel, I should have wrote that down. I think it's RSF1.
Yeah.
But then, the same lap, Mansell spun just around turn 11-12, and then seemed to struggle to get the car face get on the track and kept to spin out, not getting the heat in those hards. But when he did get back on the track, no one got any damage or anything. I don't believe he got damage either, so that was all good. And then the first sign of team orders I think I've seen in the commentary box was lap 10. Mr. Pigeon Munch let Easton past into P2 to let him attack at Corey Marshall up the road, which he did
Nothing
do.
wrong with team orders.
Which he did do, and the next lap he was up into P1. So, the Alpha
Nothing wrong
Tauri-
with team orders at all.
I didn't expect
Nothing
it
wrong.
into Bahrain, to be honest. But
Well, no, it shows the connection between the two teammates,
Yeah.
Pigeon and Easton.
it looks like
They
Easton's
obviously
the
knew
main
each other.
driver.
No, he's not the number one driver. It's equal status.
Is it? Then why would he let him past? He was on the better tyres.
Strategy, yeah, it's just all that, you know.
No, as in Pigeon was on the better tyres. The mediums were still better at lap 10, but
Well, Easton was quicker at that point.
yeah.
So I'm sure the roles would reverse at some point if it gets late on in the season and that happens.
I'm sure they would. But yeah,
Team orders only happens in the last 5 races.
I'm not sure what that was then.
Hmm.
But yeah, that worked out well. It's Easton then overtook Corey to take the lead. In lap 12, both Pigeon and Corey pit onto the medium tyres. So a 17-lap medium stint, which was seemingly possible after the F3 25 lap on hards. Seemed like 17 lap on mediums were very doable. But then a couple laps later, lap 14, Pigeon got a very nice double overtake on the outside, up into the turn 4. I believe 2 cars were fighting, and he's got a very nice front lap turn 3, and just stayed on the outside and just kept going. They were both fighting.
Yeah, very good move.
Just very nice. Just got left the space and he took it with both hands, and then to lap 15. This is where we start seeing the old rivalry between former teammates, Lando and Easton. Where Lando used his mediums, which he'd pitted onto the safety car to overtake Easton. And then lap 15, so the same lap, at turn 4, Deagle spun after I believe him and Midzi had some sort of contact. I'm not entirely sure how that's worked, but I think he's just down the inside, Midzi just turned in and thought there was space, but not quite.
Turn 4, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bumpy that corner. Yeah, if I remember what happened there. It's bumpy that corner. It's, I was understand. Again, I don't think malicious intent in there.
Nothing in there, I don't believe. But then going to lap 19, back to their former teammates, Easton re-overtakes for the lead. And that's Lando signals to pit. So on lap 20, he pits for the softs. A lap later, Easton pits for the softs. And in doing so, Unity Hush inherited the lead on 22 lap old hards at this point, I believe. No, not at this point. I think he had to take them 27 laps, I believe, because he pit under the first safety car. So around 20 lap olds at this, not quite 20 lap olds at this point. But then Lando in the pit window undercuts his former teammate Easton into 6th. And then this was a very interesting moment, lap 23. So the penultimate corner, there's a pigeon in front of these 3 drivers. Then you have Lando, then Easton. So it's an AlphaTauri sandwich. And for those of you that didn't see, Pigeon has literally just drove to the inside and pretty much stopped, just so Lando doesn't get DRS. And in doing so, Lando's doesn't seem to take his normal line, seems to be a bit confused. But he goes down the outside and neither car seems to be going at full speed. Easton just sees the gap and just sends it between them. Completely clean. And it works out really nicely for AlphaTauri as they both get DRS. Lando doesn't. And onto the main straight, Easton gets a 7/10 gap to Lando, I believe. So they made the most of that DRS zone as much as they could.
Very good.
And then with 5 laps to go, Easton was on a charge to try and win. He has a 10 seconds to first, which was Unity Hush. And 4 seconds behind Unity Hush at this point was Corey Marshall and his mediums. So it was looking like it would go down to the wire. And it's looking like Easton would be with a chance of a podium, maybe a win, depending on how other drivers drove and how quick he was. But we go on to lap 28. So Unity Hush at this point is leading a train. There's him, Corey Marshall, Easton and Mitzi. So but it looks like Easton's eyeing up the back of Corey Marshall, who is very much reliant at this moment in time on the DRS that Hush would have provided him. However, coming out of lap or turn 13, Unity Hush has got a puncture and just goes into the gravel, meaning there's no DRS for Corey Marshall. Easton takes the lead into the final lap, and from there, it's very much Marshall trying to keep up with Easton, get the DRS as much as he could, as well as fend off Midzi to keep his P2. And coming out of the final corner, there was a 10th between them. Coming across the line, it was 300ths difference from Corey Marshall in P2 and Midzi in P3. So it's a very close finish there.
Yeah, I caught the end of this race. Of course, I watched it all back earlier on today, but I caught the end of this because I was watching my beloved football team. And I caught it right at the perfect point with 3 laps to go when he had those 3. And unfortunately, I saw Hush's puncture.
Yeah, it's a shame.
As well. It was such a shame. Obviously, me being associated with Red Bull, didn't like that at all. But what a finish. Was great race to watch. Being the pinnacle of the league, they are carrying on to showing what needs to be done.
There was no controversy in the comms book, no shouts of take him out, nothing like that.
Yes, there was.
Yeah.
Yes, there was. I heard that.
Yeah, the team principal of AlphaTauri wasn't too pleased with his co-coms, but yeah, the top 10 ended up with O'Hardy in 10th, Vettel, SF1 in 9th, and Dog. Then good results for both AlphaTauri and Williams with Pigeon Munch in 7th, Aldarf in 6th, then Kid Cudi in 5th, and then before you had Lando and the other Williams Mid-C for your beloved Red Bull. Then Corey Marshall representing the Alfa Romeos very nicely, and Easton taking a win for the second week running after the penalty point or time penalties were awarded in Division 1 last week. But Easton has won back-to-back races so far.
Yes, that's 3 divisions now. That's Muddy Biscuit in F2, VRC Dan in F3, and F1 Eastern back-to-back wins as well. And I think it's safe to say with all 3 they've had to work for it.
Yeah.
In all 3 scenarios.
It hasn't been to first, start first, end first, lead nearly every lap. No.
Yeah. Which shows, because obviously on the road to both the back-to-back victories for all 3, they could have been involved in things, any damage or stuff like that, any spins, penalties, so on. So they've all deserved their 2 victories, but it shows, doesn't it, how competitive all 5 tiers are. At this stage, I don't really see anyone that's in the wrong place for me. Not anyone glaringly.
Too early to
at this
tell
point.
Completely. There's no one that's winning every race by 40 odd seconds. Or...
No. We haven't had a big victory yet, have we? I don't think.
I think Andy was the biggest.
He was like, I think it was,
like
10 seconds.
To McCracken.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, well, if Vietnam might change that.
Good stuff from F1 so far, isn't it? They're great to watch.
Yeah, they're living up to their expectation. Not just of the pace, but of the battling as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Very good stuff. Apparently, according to Easton in the chat, me and Pigeon never spoke during the race. He decided to do it himself. No team orders at all.
Ooh. He's just a very
just shows the
kind
caliber of driver,
person.
though. It shows the caliber of the driver. He was wise to know the fact that at that point Easton was the pacier of the 2, and ended up proving good because Easton went on to win the race. So
yeah,
again,
Pigeon's got to take some
again,
credit.
there could be a point. There could be a point down the line in the season where Easton is slower than Pigeon at a particular point in the race,
Might
and then they're
consider it.
together, and then might consider it. Yes. Thank you for the recap of F1. Last but not least, we have the F4 division. I'm curious about the time. Don't want to get too close to an hour and a half, but still want to do the thing at the end. So let's go through F4, which ended the week last night. Another good race from F4. Definitely had some intrigue once again, and had the safety car as well, which threw strategy up in the air. But we start off with the top 10 in qualifying. Cornish in the Racing Point, Jamie 24 in the Williams, Button in the Ferrari, I believe. Yes, Ferrari. Jessie Racer in the Renault, having her first race. She missed Australia, so she was back in this race to show her potential. Vinny in the Red Bull was next, or Manzi, the principal of Mercedes. Caesar Wizard having his first race in F4 in the McLaren, Fordy in the Red Bull, Toxic, MW in the House, and Scotsman in the Renault. And it was XR Cornish that took a very good pole position, a 125.297, 4 tenths ahead of the eventual second place of Vinny, 25.721, and then a 7.31 for Button in third. So very close. Second, third, fourth and fifth, I think was, but Cornish was looking very strong, at least in the qualifying phase, with that pole position. Lap 1, Vinny, unfortunately, after starting in that second place, has a slow getaway and gets passed by a couple of drivers, and then gets pinched at turn 2, just, lap 1 stuff, and unfortunately dropped back from there, and that didn't help his cause. End of the lap, TLC Rogue in the Ferrari crashed out at the last corner and brought out the safety car. And then, well, with that safety car though, only 4 drivers pitted. Primus, Scotsman, Alco and Vinny all pitting. Obviously Vinny with the damage, and I think Alco had damage as well. both pitted, but Scotsman and Primus changed their strategy. I don't believe they had damage. Not that I saw, anyway. Toxic MW was up from 8th to 3rd because he was on the soft tyres compared to those on mediums around him. He also pitted for hards at this point. But the leader was XR Cornish and retained his lead ahead of Button. They were both on the medium tyres, pushing on through. Lap 5, Cornish led from Button, Jamie, Caesar Wizard, Craig was in the 5th place in the Ferrari. They're all on the mediums. Old Manzi was on the softs, going a different strategy to everyone around him. Demons on the mediums, Charismic on the hards, Barry and Fish on the medium tyres. So again, strategy very similar to F3 was starting to take shape between the drivers, and there was a different mixture all around. Those that had pitted, Toxic was highest of those, and he'd pitted on the hards, and he was in 12th place, ahead of the battling Primus and Jesse Racer, both of which had a pretty good battle for about half a lap. Lap 7, Old Manzi pits from his soft tyres, and then Craig Senna pits for some reason for damage from somewhere, and the stream missed it and I missed it as well, so if you can say where he got that, that would be good. The person that was kind of surprising me, similar to Invade earlier on in the week, was Unseen. He was being seen, contrary to his gamer tag, but he was climbing up from the rear of the grid. He'd had 2 spins in the first lap, and he was about 20 seconds behind everyone. Obviously, the safety car helped. He was up to 9th on the hard tyres, so he was coming through on the grid. Lap 8, turn 2, Alco Science and Primus had a unfortunate incident. Both dropped to 15th and 16th place. Not really sure what happened, to be honest. It's almost as if one didn't see the other and the other didn't see the other, and they just connected. I don't think they got damage. I think they just lost time and obviously dropped to the back. Unseen did a brilliant switchback maneuver on Charismic out on the exit of turn 9 for 8th place on that lap as well. So I pointed that one out. So then on to lap 11. Jamie passes Button for 2nd. And turn 1, a very good maneuver. Well, DRS pretty much, to be honest. It was simplified. Caesar Wizard in the McLaren moved by Button as well into 3rd place. Button then pits for hard tyres, putting Wizard into 2nd. Whence Wizard had passed Jamie, so Wizard was making his moves. But Cornish was still leading at this point. It was in a comfortable position out the front in his racing point. Lap 15 though, however, Cornish had pitted, and he's come out behind the battling Primus and Vinny, who are both trying to go as long as they can on their tyres. And unfortunately for Cornish, pretty much the curse of the racing points, it seems, got caught out by the battling, mistimed his brakes and got wing damage on his car, and that was really such a shame to see. Very similar to Camo in racing in a F3, so Racing Point were not getting the luck at all behind cars. And Cornish pitted and came out in 18th place and later retired. So again, what could have been for XR Cornish, shame, but he will be back next week, I am sure, in Vietnam. Lap 21, however, this was when strategies and tyres and so on were kind of fitting together. Wizard was leading at this point, and he was looking pretty good for the victory because he was on 7 lap hards. Toxic MW, who had quietly kind of gone under the radar when I looked back through this race, he was on 17 lap hard tyres, so he had seen obviously what happened early in the week with Science and Dan, and was trying to get his tyres to the end. But he'd been on them for 17 laps at this point, so it was a bit more of an ask to get to the end from there. Jamie was 3rd and Button on 4th on hard tyres that were going to easily get to the end, 7 and 8 laps. Unseen was on really fresh soft tyres at this point, and he just pitted, so he was in pretty good to maybe get onto the podium. Barry was behind him on hard tyres, Jesse on mediums, and Demons on hards. Lap 25, Toxic and Jamie got into a battle between each other for position. Toxic, of course, struggling on those hard tyres at this point, struggling to hold off Jamie. And this allowed Unseen to catch the pair of them and pass the pair of them on his really fresh soft tyres. So at this point, Unseen had moved from 20th to 2nd and was looking very, very good. Toxic drops back and pits. His tyres were pretty much gone and came out in 11th place. But he was trying to recover something from the race. And they carried on till the end. And unfortunately, 40 and Alco had a incident through turn 10 and 11 on the last lap, which gave Craig Senna, who had had a difficult race up to that point, a solitary point in his Ferrari. So all in all, a good race for F4. Just pick up the results. Give me a second. There we go. Caesar Wizard in the McLaren in his debut for F4 picked up the victory in the McLaren from 6th on the grid, so a very good result from him. But Unseen from 19th, I thought it was 20th, 19th on the grid, 2nd place. I know the Driver of the Day vote, I think the final vote for who wins it overall is just been released on Twitter, and I think it's between Unseen and Invade. I think that'll be a very close call because both had superior drives this week. Jamie was 3rd in the Williams, so a 2nd and a 3rd for the Williams team. I think that's the strongest result this week, apart from the 2 Renaults, of course. Button in 4th in the Ferrari got a solid result in 4th place. Jesse in her first race, 5th place, tried to make a 2-stop work, but still ended up in 5th. Still very good. Barry from 15th to 6th. Good result for him. Fistix in the McLaren was 7th. So another good day for McLaren as well. UK Demons was 8th in the AlphaTauri. 9th for Old Mandy in the Mercedes. And then, as I mentioned, Craigie Senna in the Ferrari picked up the last point because of the unfortunate Alco and Vinny, who both had pretty much been through the walls that race. So it didn't really end well for them. Yeah, good stuff from F4 Hippo. Did you manage to catch this one, or was this the other race you missed today?
I saw bits, but not as an overall race. About the Driver of the Week, it was Easton versus Invade for the final vote, which is...
Oh, okay. Cool. I would have put Unseen in there. But it's the way the votes go, I'm sure he was driver of the...
Between him and Easton.
Yeah, I'm sure he's driver of the day that week, or that race last night.
I think it was a 2 vote swing between Easton and Unseen for the final spot on the Driver of the Week finale.
Alright, fair enough. Yeah, good stuff from F4. Obviously Toxic CW and Easton doing that. Comms doing very well for them as well. They got a good stuff. Obviously, we'll say the championship standings from next week onwards. I believe is actually arguably the most competitive. Because obviously we haven't had back-to-back wins. Caesar's come in and has immediately shown his pace. Yeah, it's tough to say. It's still for me F4, I think, Hippo. I think the front runners are yet to reveal themselves in terms of those that are going to be in the front week in, week out. Obviously, we'll never know what Cornish could have done because he got caught up in something there. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of people that could still be near the front towards the end.
Yeah, what could have been, and also what will be, because there's still Bahrain. Some people would have really liked, not got the results they wanted, but then they'll get results at track they don't particularly like as well. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and there we go. That's been Bahrain, and I've got to say, thank you, Bahrain. Basically, for that. Was a very good week, I think you agree, Hippo. Very good races.
Yeah, lots of action.
Definitely. Right, so there we go. That was your recap for Bahrain. And yeah, see you on the next game, I guess. kind of weird saying that, to be honest. Such a good track it is. But here we go. We will be back on now. Now we come to the section where we talk about other things. Not much real life stuff. Obviously, we had the news of Lewis Hamilton has signed his contract, but it's over. Yay, I guess, with that. He's on the grid. Woo. There's opinions on that. But, you know, I'm just glad the whole thing's over, Hippo, to be honest. It was dragging on.
It took its time to end itself, but it's done.
But it's done now, so whoop. And we'll see how he gets on in the season ahead. Obviously we had the news, was it yesterday, that Fernando Alonso was in a cycling accident and broke his top jaw, but he's apparently could be okay in the next couple of days. So that's, first of all, sorry to hear that he's got that, but yeah, hopefully he's going to be okay for testing and so on. Apparently he should be. So
Yeah.
in some ways he's lucky to get away with just what he got.
I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, obviously never want to hear anything happen to the drivers, but they'll be all right. And that's it, really. I missed McLaren was today, wasn't it?
No, McLaren is 15th, so Monday.
Ow.
That's the first one.
Oh, okay.
They had a
That's
merch
the first-
launch or
yeah,
something
first one, isn't it?
today. Packing
Oh,
everything
yeah, of
into a
course.
couple of day window.
So we got a few more minutes. I know we're an hour and a half at this point, but I think we're just always going to hit an hour and a half. It's just the way the recaps work. Have quieter races, I think.
Yeah. Just stop overtaking.
No. We want good races. We want good races. Sweet. But we go to a track now because I'm going to add a new section into this, where the viewers can watch me fail sometimes at hot lapping and still talking on the tracks at the same time. And what a great one to start off with. We're at Vietnam, the Hanoi Street Circuit. Now, I know there are many, many people that don't like this track. I don't like this track. But let's not be negative all the time about it. It is a challenge, and sometimes it's good to challenge ourselves. It's just... It's difficult to get into a flow around here, I feel.
Yeah. I think the last sector's very nice and flowing, but everything else doesn't feel like it's all one. It doesn't feel like it's the same track.
I'm going to get a setup on. I'm going to get my own setup on, so I'm actually comfortable doing this.
Get a bit of
I'm not looking
practice
forward
at
to
the
this,
same
too.
time.
I'm not looking forward to this. There's my time, by the way. A 33.945.
Oh, you're looking at dry. I was looking at the wet.
Look all
That's
all
all.
the guys around me. You know, all those are quicker than me.
Yeah. That's all.
Mine in the Red Bull as well. I'm just ahead of Shane.
The one thing I hope that this race can provide, and that's rain. It's our first real chance of it happening. I think it'll just
Could have had it in
something.
Australia.
yeah. I think you're more likely to get it in Hanoi.
Yeah. I go casually round for now, as we talk about this track, but obviously the first part is turn 1 here, after the DRS section. Can be hectic, can't it? Because it's such a narrow first corner, and also the curbs are so high, it unsettles the car, doesn't
And
it?
it cuts back a lot. And it cuts back. It's like the Monza chicane if it was mixed with Bahrain and cut back on itself. It's a hectic with lots of cars. And then the second corner's not very nice. I don't like it.
No. Everyone's going to keep their wits about themselves through the first lap of every tier, to be honest, even the F1 tier.
You hope they do.
Because you want to get a few positions at the start, of course, but at the same time it's so easy to get caught up in something you don't want to. Obviously the other feature of this track is the straight that seems to never end, and
Yeah.
that then ends with the world's tightest hairpin, I think.
Yeah.
apart from Monaco. But the thing with Monaco is you don't have like
It's not a heavy braking zone, is it? You never get that build
Yeah,
up
you don't.
to it.
You don't have
33 mile straight.
yeah. You don't have drivers tearing down there at 210 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good. And then obviously you did point out about the last sector, which it's flowing if you get it right. It is satisfying when you get it right on a qualifying lap, but race scenario, again, you've got to be very careful behind someone, don't you?
Yes, yeah. Someone messes up, it's gonna cause people braking. There's lots of cars. It can be very awkward to race around, but it's a very nice one if you can just set a lap almost by yourself and just get it
I
right.
hate the walls. I hate the walls around this track. It's just...
Yeah.
Some people say that Monaco's like... Because this is a street circuit, of course.
Yeah.
Some people say Monaco's the hardest. Some people say Singapore's the hardest. Some almost add Baku into that as well, because of how fast it is. I think this is a more complicated Baku.
Yeah. It's a different...
Like, because the only... Yeah, when you know the circuit, the only part of the track of Baku which is difficult is the castle section.
Yeah. But even if you can get it right, it's very nice.
Mm. Like, that's the one place, like, if you don't like Baku, that's the one place that people hate.
It's a corner.
Whereas, yeah, around here, there's loads of places that can catch you out.
There's like 2 sectors. And you go from one corner that you don't like to a couple of sectors.
Yeah. Pretty much. I haven't had a race in this. I know I have had a career mode race in the rain here. It is... Oh, is this... Especially full wet.
Yeah. I'm hoping I get a full wet race. Because I know I don't have the pace. I don't have the pace to match people. But I think I could keep it out the walls. I think.
That's what's going to be
Yeah.
this week, isn't it? Just keeping it around the rules. Survivability is this track. Pace does matter. Pace will matter in qualifying to get you in a good position to start off with.
Yeah.
But you need your strategy. You need to know your strategy in this.
Yeah.
It needs to be as smooth as race as possible to do well.
Even more so, midfield is not going to be nice, especially first couple of laps. If you're stuck in the midfield, you want to qualify well here.
Yep.
It's not like Monaco. You can overtake. It's not the hardest to overtake. But you don't want to be caught up into turn 1 early on in the first couple of laps. You want to be in your own little area. Have your space. Not be surrounded.
It's just easy to make mistakes around here. That's the problem because of how fast it is and how close the walls are.
Yeah. And
Right,
I'm not...
Let's see if I can do a decent enough lap around here. So it's get up in the last corner. Last corner is deceiving as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
On a first tested around here in time trial, that last corner is so deceiving because you think you can go flat,
You can't.
and
Oh,
you
you-
can if you get the line right.
If
But
it's perfect. But a tiny bit off.
yeah. Turn 1 and 2, obviously through there, try and carry the speed through turn 3. And again, this corner can be difficult because the chicane wants to throw you into the wall on the right hand side. And onto this little straight, I guess, to this interesting corner, which you can go over the curves
You
and
can
it will
cut
allow
it a
you
lot. But then you almost... It is quicker initially. But it can throw you off a lot for that second corner. If you're not ready for it.
Obviously, the exit onto this
Yeah.
10-year-long straight is very key about that happen, but very difficult to do so because, again, the turn and the curb wants to throw you into the wall.
Yeah.
And you're so eager, you just want to got to be patient at the same time.
You know it's a long
Careful, the novice.
straight when you describe it in years.
Yeah. Obviously, then the hairpin, and then into the final sector, which is the make or break lap, really, because it's so flowing. I've tapped the wall. That's a great start. So it's just one line. It's got to be momentum, isn't it? You just got to carry the speed as best as you can, and not sort of overdrive it.
Yeah. And that hairpin, it's deceiving because you think you can brake so late, but then when you brake that late, you miss apex, you go a bit deeper, you're almost too quick on your exit. It's very hard to get it right.
The pit exit has always troubled me as well. Because if you notice the pit exit, you're straight onto where the racing line is.
Yeah, you have to be very careful and aware.
And those that are unfamiliar with this track have got to remember where the pit entrance is, because that can be
Yes, I have missed that on multiple occasions.
yeah. What I'm aiming for Sunday is try and qualify as high as possible.
Yeah.
Because
Isn't that your aim
I know this
every
track to be, if you're in traffic, it's horrible.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah,
in traffic, stuck behind someone.
It's a thing on this.
When you're leading, it's good. I think that'll do.
Yeah. You don't want
the end of
dirty
the
air, and you don't want a slipstream into some of these braking zones. It's not nice.
Replay the fastest lap around us.
Well, I
Sorry
think
about that. Game crashed on me as I tried to replay fastest lap.
I think
Oh, there you
that's
go.
its way of saying shut up.
You've done enough. Yes, thank you for everyone that was watching this live, and obviously when you watch it back, hopefully you enjoyed this kind of little recap of Bahrain, and then we look forward to Vietnam. Yeah. Yay.
Rain.
Yay.
I'm gonna be doing the rain dance, that's for sure.
Put it this way, I think I'm going to enjoy watching and commentating on the races rather than racing it. But back to one of those where I'm going to enjoy the commentary this week rather than the racing.
Yeah.
Should be fun regardless. Safety cars probably every race, probably. Not saying them for bad drivers, just the way the track is.
Yeah.
You know, you can easily make mistakes. And
No
I think
ghosting will be on.
Yeah, I think also the no, it's off if I remember
Is
rightly.
it for Hanoi? Oh, I thought it was one.
I think it's off.
Ooh.
I'm not sure.
We'll get that
Because the
cleared
reason we have it on for tracks like Monaco, I think, and Baku is because they both have corners that are so narrow. You have ghosting, like castle section. For example, Baku. If you get a car sideways, you're not getting through if it remains solid. So I'm not
roundabout.
sure.
Meh. Oh well, it'll be discussed and sorted
It'll be
before.
cleared up. It'll be cleared up.
But yeah.
Yeah, it'll be cleared up. Yeah, so it should be exciting anyway for the viewers. So make sure you watch that. Obviously, Sunday F2, it all kicks off. Yeah, where Primus and should be Diggles this week taking us through on F2. F3 on Monday, of course, myself and Vettel, SF. So that'll be Monday, or of course, this is all 8 o'clock. Tuesday, Monster Skyline will be streaming, and he is planned to be streamed with TSRC Rogue. Wednesday is yourself and Blazer again, so have fun after what you said about his AlphaTauri driver this week. I'm sure he'll remember.
Yeah, he was there.
And then Thursday, obviously the last race on F4 with Toxic CW and RSF1 Eastern, and of course we'll be back here once again to recap it all. Hopefully it won't be too much to say. So there was a safety car on lap 1, lap 6, lap 10, lap 12. There was lots of rain.
18, there was also a safety car. And 23, there were 6 safety cars.
20 people started and 2 people finished.
Lap 3.
Oh no, that's a bold thing, isn't it? 20 starting and 2 finishing.
I don't think 20 will start in
Ooh.
any race or in all the races, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope it.
Anyway,
it
hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, you enjoyed all this tonight. Thank you once again for watching. Hippo, thank you for your company.
No problem. Enjoyed being here.
All good. And best of luck in your race, of course,
You
on
too.
F5 on Tuesday. It's Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you're starting the
Yeah,
week off
I-
Sunday. It's fine. There's no
Terrified.
pressure on F2 to discover
Terrified.
everything for everyone.
You can't corner cut that much around here, so I'm okay with that.
You can
Okay.
hit a couple of walls though.
Yeah, you can, but not too much. Not too much. Yes. Good luck to everybody racing, and until next time, take care as always. Good night, and see you next time.